Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. I hope all is well with you today. Thank you for being here. My name is Tamia. I go by Silkslips here and elsewhere. Sorry. I'm like already annoyed with how many times I'm gonna have to censor myself this video. But today's video is a little bit spread out. It's gonna be focused on the original girl bosses, baddies, baddie style and aesthetics. But to get there, I'll be talking about video vixens and the overall impact of 2010's IG models and the fashion and aesthetics that have been built from their work in the early rap and hip hop industries, and just generally posing question to women fighting and like gyrating in glitzy designer outfits on TV, etc., etc. There's gonna be a lot of allegedlys in this video also, so bear in mind. In preparation of this, I watched every single season of Baddies with my sister.
When I've seen the film now twice.
Plus, I read some papers about video vixens that I've linked below, and I also read Corinne Steffen's memoir, Confessions of a Video Vixen. She's a true pioneer of the field, and I don't know, I didn't expect to see like Fred Durst's name in there. Crazy, but okay. We'll get into that a little bit later. And in general, I've seen many music videos in my time, so I do believe that I am qualified to talk about this.
Do you feel like you should be able to say it though? Like, do you feel like I come from it. Like, what are you talking about? There's nothing to talk about.
You come from what?
I come from that background. You feel like my people is black, my babies is black, everybody that I'm around is black.
Overall, all of this is to say, my intention here is to dissect and present dialectical perspectives and expert opinions that exist on fighting and being a boss bitch. I figured that in order to talk about baddies and bad as cultural phenom and how those terms have evolved into a TV show with a massive cult following centered around dressing up, fighting, and getting a quote-unquote bag, that it'd be important to speak about how baddie style and aesthetics are directly descendant of previous generations of women of the rap industry, highlighting the video vixen because being a baddie as an art form couldn't exist if the video vixen didn't exist first. So what is a video vixen? A video vixen is a woman who, through image and fantasy, occupies the visual universe created for a hip-hop or rap artist's song. Predominantly, we see this represented as a music video. She can be a co-star and a love interest to the lead artist in the narrative depicted, or she can be one of various women presenting the illusion that the men performing the music are surrounded by ample opportunity for. The music artists have women performing for them in their performance for you.
Amber, Akira, Ashley, Autumn. I'm not even done with the A's yet.
There are a plethora of differences in the expectations, lifestyles, and opportunities that are afforded to a video vixen versus a video model. Kate Moss and Naomi Campbell have famously been in a lot of music videos, actually. And that's just a couple. There are a lot of high fashion models that have made their way into the music industry, performing as a motif of something representative of an artist. But clearly, everything from pay disparity to difference in consumer demographics speaks to why they might not be looked at as one and the same. No matter the music video, there is incentive to featuring people or props alongside the artist that make the artist look good, whether that's a high fashion model or a celebrity cameo or just a pretty person to fill up white space on the screen. But when the people are turned into props that exist solely to shake rump, while other people are clawing at each other for the opportunity to do the exact same thing but for no money, you know, for proximity or whatever, we gotta start asking some questions. Please free them. Or, I don't know, maybe they should start a union or something.
If I don't feel no emotion and I feel disrespected, unappreciated, I'm out. We're all bosses working for one mother. That boss better respect us, or you won't feel it with my
You know, to an extent, sorry I'm cold. We're gonna talk about why being a baddie can't be unionized. We're gonna get into that a little bit.
Let them speak. Allow them to talk.
I don't know how far-fetched it is for me to say that. Anyways, if the music video itself exists as an advertisement for the artist's album, a specific single, or a curated visual representation of who the artist is, then the video vixen is a very particular motif of that advertisement and the greater impression to be held of the musician or the rapper's career. She's chosen for her body and her style. Yet, especially in the early aughts, and like again, when you think of it in comparison to the high fashion model comparison, she often goes as a muse with no credit, but has an incredibly important role to play. One such notable name that is latched onto the term video vixen is the rap industry's possibly most well-known whistleblower, Corinne Steffens, who I did briefly mention earlier. She wrote what her publisher described as part tell-all, part cautionary tale in describing the first 25 years of her life, from growing up on the island of St. Thomas to her tumultuous relationship with her mother, her own experiences in becoming a mother while facing homelessness, her experience becoming an actress in Hollywood in the early 2000s, being being an S worker in connection to several rappers, while also being a video vixen who appeared in over 20 music videos for hit songs we all know and heard of. And lastly, she's well described herself as being a victim of the horrors of the American dream. Her memoir was published in 2005, and I think some aspects of the way that it was written are indicative of the time and social climate. The very heavily present, simultaneous shaming of women in Hollywood via tabloids that she had to have been surrounded by when she was journaling all of these things. And reflecting on interviews that she's been in, it seems she's proud of her endurance to the things that she's experienced, and she's unabashed about everything.
Do you upset people from writing this book? I haven't heard anything from anyone. The people that are most upset will be my mother and my ex, because they were the most brutal to me, and I was honest about that brutality, and that upsets them.
So these rappers aren't upset that you wrote about them?
No, they're fine, because there were so many things that I left out. The things that I got a lot of.
So if you ran into Usher, or you ran into Jay-Z, or you ran into, they're like, hey, Corinne, it's cool?
Well, we haven't been cool for years. You know what I mean? So it's not like I've had friendships all this time. These are people that I haven't spoken to, with the exception of Usher. Who I haven't spoken to in years. And so when we do see each other, and we do, Four Seasons brunch, and you just kind of pass each other, and you do one of these, and you just keep going.
Because I'll admit, if somebody wrote something about me in a book, I'd be pissed off.
Yeah, people wrote things about me in songs. So I've been pissed off before. I've been written about in magazines, you know, that were lies, and I've been pissed off before too. You know, so I know how it feels. But the difference is that the things that were written about me weren't the truth, and this is the truth. And I tell them, as I tell everyone, if your name is in this book and you see something that you don't like, then you shouldn't have done it.
She vocalizes her sense of empowerment both in her sexual prowess and in her ability to carry on after so many instances of tragedy in her life. And when the book was initially published, everybody had an issue with it. Everybody thought, that's a 304, and kind of just wanted to box her into that. Reading this in 2024 completely changed how I see that entire industry, especially with everything else that's been coming out about it. It was very brave of her to release this incredibly complicated book in 2005, revealing her connections to over a dozen rappers, actors, label execs, etc., especially the parts regarding her traumas at the hands of these men, and with what long-standing conspiracies have been revealed as truth about celebrities like Diddy and Jay-Z, who do also appear in the book. But that's not what this is all about. I don't know how else to put this. Maybe she'll come forward and say something else. Who knows? But that, in comparison to another perspective that I came across, was that of Amber Johnson in 2014. So 2005, 2014, and then me reading all of this in 2024. Johnson's essay was titled, in tandem with Corinne Steffen's memoir, Confessions of a Video Vixen, My Autocriptography of Sexuality, Desire, and Memory. In this, she wrote about her experiences working on the set of Nelly's Country Grammar music video, shot in 2000 among locals and monuments of St. Louis. 4 old-school classic cars filled the width of the street. Behind, between, and around the cars, from infants to seniors, sat thousands of primarily African-American people with a few white people sprinkled among them, none of whom were paid to be there. The production assistants ushered us, principal models, between the 2 middle cars, front and center, and told the other 20 or so girls to fill the space behind and around us. We were told to dance. They played Nelly's music, rolled tape, and the mania started. Men began taunting us. I tried to ignore the shouts. I told myself they were not talking to me, but to the other girls who did not seem to mind as they danced harder or flirted back with the crowd. The girls who danced the hardest were able to dance solo for a panning camera in front of all 4 cars. Girls pushed and shoved to get to the front, hoping to get selected to be one of the soloists. As a principal model, I was supposed to be one of those girls by default. I quietly shifted behind the other girls, telling them to step in front of me. They looked perplexed, as if I was giving up the opportunity of a lifetime. I imagine that for some women penetrating the hip-hop scene, being a video vixen was about resistance and wanting to be sexual, powerful, and commanding without having to be labeled, stereotyped, or judged. So Amber Johnson's experience is nuanced. She details her understanding of what's going on around her, but she's really uncomfortable with everything that's going on. She's uncomfortable with being jeered at. She doesn't like people calling at her and waving at her, people catcalling her and whatever else. She's uncomfortable being there, but understands that there's an aspect of proximity that people are yearning for. They're not being paid to be there, but she is, and she's a little bit uncomfortable with what her role is in this space. Her experience here details discomfort with the events of the set she'd worked on, as well as what she'd noticed in the role she was meant to play as a part of the scenery. Contrasting this with Corinne Steffen's, nicknamed Superhead, after an interaction with, I believe it was Ja Rule, quoting a Jadakiss song. Corinne seemed to really enjoy the music videos that she worked on the set of, more so to the extent that she would get close to the rappers. That idea of proximity was not an idea for her, it was reality. Regardless, those are 2 very different perspectives from 2 women who worked as models on rap music videos in the early 2000s that I thought would be interesting to kind of sit alongside each other. Both of these women are Black, and I'd assume around the same age. Steffen's work being a memoir of her life and its intricate details carefully chosen. Johnson's being an academic paper, meant to intricately dissect one event and the complexities of her experience that one specific time. A lot of what they describe is relatively the same, and I think this pertains to the ways women's bodies are treated as props for the overarching careers careers of many rappers, regardless of if this is more of a routine lifestyle like for Corinne Steffens, or if this is a one-off gig as a model like Amber Johnson's. I think it's important that I frame what they're saying as almost an umbrella to look at everything else that I'm going to be talking about in this video, including the stuff about TV shows like Baddies, existent only because of very specific cultural and stylistic identifiers largely popularized, purchased, and worn by Black women. The body, the corporeal form, in its portrayal is bad. In what biopolitical and sociopolitical controls exist for women to choose high-maintenance lifestyle for the accruement of capital, and in what is often seen as required of the bodies of baddies, and the images that dominate the cultural moment, from assets deemed obviously natural to the dolls who love to nip and tuck. I think there's an ambiguity to baddie culture and the bodily expressions of sexuality and eroticism that often exist within it.
If she was too skinny, then she gotta go. She got a nice rack and a booty on swole.
In Black Looks by Bell Hooks, I think she speaks on these ideas when she speaks of representations of resistance to the objectification and dehumanization of Black women's bodies in media via subversion or exploitation to reap benefits, all while subjugated under capitalism.
Post me, baby.
Okay, so as it stands, that the human body under capitalism exists to be controlled, more specifically for productive output, to be the perfect consumer. It's implied through my past videos that we are thus more able to navigate these spaces and their systems as a result of the things that we are wearing and what we have access to, by which we prepare our bodies with garment. And fast fashion plays a really monumental role in this entire subculture. I wanted to talk about BBL fashion a little bit. As far as I know, and feel free to let me know if I'm wrong in the comments below, but there is no like succinct definition on what BBL fashion is as a style, aside clothing that has been specifically designed to adhere to or enhance the appearance of a body with a BBL, or to like create the illusion of one. And for those who don't already know, a BBL is a Brazilian butt lift. Of course, it's of Brazilian origin. Plastic surgeon Ivo Pitangue, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, he's considered the official creator of this cosmetic procedure. He's been noted as a pioneer within this space of work because of his extensive research in the 60s. His work to this day is considered incredibly influential and far-reaching within the field of cosmetic surgery. And 6 decades later, this still proves to be true, to the extent that a lot of today's fast fashion and some ready-to-wear brands are being created with decades of research around crafting a very specific body type through surgery in mind. They're keeping that in mind during their manufacturing processes. That's a pretty big deal. That's kind of crazy. Of course, not everyone that wears what is said to be BBL fashion has a BBL, but it is considered in the garment's creation. Cutouts, adjustable laces, cinched loungewear, and snatched waists are some accents typically included off the top of my head. More and more, as profits and fads change, these trends created for baddies specifically are seeping into the visual lexicon of fashion as a whole. A lot of the high fashion girlies want to look hot too. They want to, look like they're going out all the time too. But I think that most of them don't really want to buy anything from like Pretty Little Thing or whatever, like Shein. I think this opens up a space where a lot of creative directors and designers in the high fashion ready-to-wear space recognize the desire for like sultriness and are including that in the clothing and like bringing sexy back, if there's like literally any other way for me to say that. Cement this with the Y2K make bling vortex we've been stuck in for years, sitting alongside the move toward inclusivity, heavy quotations on inclusivity because it's really not given that, via online discussion of body positivity and consumer calls for brands to platform more plus-size models and models of color as of the mid to late 2010s. It makes sense that the fashionable subtext for acceptable and respectable bodies on runway and in high fashion garments has shifted greatly since the early 2000s, but in a neoliberal representative way. Not necessarily that the system is changing, it's that the clothes are changing so that they can make more money by pretending to be inclusive.
If there's any gonna support gay, trans, LGBT, it's gonna be me. I'm gonna stay on the strength of that.
A lot of brands do this, not all of them, but a lot of them do. You can like compact that with this additional neoliberal expansion and recognition of trends by the marginalized. For more reasons than just this, there's simply less segregation of these trends, and the sorting of who is allowed to wear what changes drastically. Culturally, within many Latin and Black communities, having a more voluptuous figure is the main aspirational body type. If not natural, which is also very common, cosmetic surgery and non-invasive procedures is an increasingly popular option for a similarly desired appearance, but it hasn't always been the case. With the plethora of eccentric nail art and whale tailing comes more trends of bodily restriction, maintenance, and upkeep. And these things can come with risks. No pain, no gain, right? Or beauty is pain, or one of the million other phrases that come with this idea that pain and beauty need to be joined and lumped together for some reason. I wanted to talk a little bit more about BBLs.
It ain't necessarily gotta have a BBL, cause I ain't fucking with that either.
I pulled a 2020 article from Oxford University's Aesthetic Surgery Journal to get more information about the mortality rate on BBLs, because it's always touted as super dangerous or the most dangerous cosmetic surgery you can get because of the possibility of breaching muscle. But when I think about the prevalence of black market shots prior to 2015, I'll include an article somewhere about the industrial silicone butt injections that were reported on Vice back in I don't even know what year it was. It was maybe 2014 or something. I'll check it out. I'll put it here. For a very long time, butt implants, butt injections, a BBL, all of these things were ridiculously more dangerous than they are now, as cosmetic surgery is becoming a lot more widely accepted. Wait, let me give you the statistics. Hold on. When I think about the prevalence of black market shots prior to 2015 compared to the current social climate that exists around plastic surgery and gender affirming surgery, allowing for less judgment, more access, less stigma. Don't get me wrong, but there are still issues with botched surgeries, both above and below board. Verbatim from the study, okay? Trends of surveyed board-certified plastic surgeons indicated a decreased mortality rate from 1 in 3,448 in 2017 to 1 in 14,952 in 2019. Okay, clearly it's getting safer. I'm not promoting BBLs, but much more safe than it once was, but it's still really ridiculously unsafe. I'm not a doctor, so I don't know how to fully interpret that. I just think the change in numbers is so big, and also that the article that I found about the BBL and the silicone injections and stuff from way back, that was happening not that long prior, and BBLs were getting really, really popular prior to that. I don't know. The first time I ever heard about shots was in my early teens, in recognizing artists like Nicki Minaj as being rumored to have them. She herself acknowledges that the male gaze had a lot to do with why her butt became integral to her baddie persona as an artist and rapper.
Stop. Every day I would go on, and it was some new story, made up story, or bad picture, or it wasn't acceptable to have surgery at all or anything. Even though, and at that time, I had never had surgery. I had shots. Which, till this day, I realize, even when I did it, and even with me not consulting with anyone to do something like that, how insane that was. It's not that you go to a doctor or a professional person. No, it's some random person.
You're sure bro.
Who comes in. I was in Atlanta at the time. And actually what happened was I kept on being around Wayne and them. And at that time, Wayne, he always talking about big booties, and Wayne would have a new chick in the studio every session. So it was always a new big booty.
Creative support. That's what I like to call it.
a new big booty there.
A muse.
Right. Actually, yes. Actually, they were his music. That's right. And yes, I want to make sure I don't downplay those women, because they have a big part in the journey of a rapper's career. You know what I'm saying? Because when they are out there, they would give him that fuel. Them smiling, them listening. He would do stuff and then just see organically what they would respond to. Right. All those things. So they were his muses. But I just was around them all the time, and I was like sister. I was like a little sister with Wayne and Mac and all these boys. Jay Mills and Gutta and all of them. And all I would hear them talking about is big butts. And I didn't feel complete or good enough, good as those girls, because I'm like, oh my God, this is what you're supposed to look like in the rap culture, and I don't look like that. And now.
But that was you telling yourself that, and not anyone else saying that to you.
No, yeah, they never told me that. Well, no, I'm lying. I think Wayne, and I think they said stuff sometimes jokingly.
Jokingly.
But to a young girl or up and coming rapper or anything like that, when it's from someone like Lil Wayne, it matters. So even if they're joking, they don't know that the person that is there in that room with them is not finding it funny.
The BBL itself is core to cracking more fashion theory on this. However, that doesn't speak entirely to why BBL fashion in particular has become its own lane as a trend. I'll be honest, I don't know what the internet's butt obsession is about. I was too scared to look into that part. Let's talk about twerking videos, because that feels a bit safer than whatever the hell is going on right now. Twerking videos gained popularity in the early 2010s comes to mind when I think of all of this, when I'm talking about butts, BBLs, etc., etc. And in the same frame of culture, I think talking about twerking videos is important. There's a general lack of understanding that twerking originates from the bounce music scene in New Orleans, Louisiana, and the shift towards rap music gaining a lot of radio play around this time really helped create a reciprocal impact on and with baddie culture. Around 2008, Twerk Team, a group of women based out of Atlanta, began posting videos of themselves on YouTube dancing. There's one particular video that they shared of themselves that Soulja Boy reposted, and they received a ton of attention online. Just 2 years later, in 2011, the song Round of Applause by Waka Flocka Flame and Drake is garnering a ton of radio play, and in the song, Twerk Team is given a shout out. Culturally, we can locate a lot of the origins of trends if we just follow the money. Round of Applause by Waka Flocka Flame and Drake is a song about watching an exotic dancer perform and twerk in a club. It's no surprise that exotic dancers twerk, and a lot of women that are considered baddies are exotic dancers. Like, many exotic dancers are baddies. Not all baddies are exotic dancers. However, dancing can make you a lot of money when a particular club or its featured acts are popular. And Magic City in Atlanta is one example of a world-famous club raking in good money on a regular basis because of their baddies. In Lauren Greenfield's short documentary on Magic City, shout out Lauren Greenfield, love your work, she interviews dancers of the prolific club, as well as Future, DJ Esco, and various others, about how the strip club acts as a barometer for popularity and subsequent success in the rap music industry, as evident through the success of Atlanta-born rapper Future.
Music is generated usually first through the strip club. It's underground, and that's where it comes first. It grows. It's like roots of a tree, and it grows from the strip club, and then it goes to the dance club. And when it graduates from the commercial clubs, it usually goes to the radio.
Future might be Mr. Magic City. He really started, like, he's the one artist that I know that every other song in the strip club was a Future song.
When you look from the outside looking in, you'll think, I'm just Future's DJ.
Big Boy of Outkast also makes mention of this A&R technique in a group interview he partook in Atlanta magazine. The money, above all else, is the central force that brings dancers to performance, artists and patrons to dancers, and the general public understanding of this industry to manifest in the collective nightlife fashion trends that exist. Gender and sexuality scholar Catherine Roach wrote in her novel interviewing dancers working in the adult entertainment industry, stripping sex and popular culture. The element of play is important. It highlights the extent to which the stripper's body work is a creative fantasy dress-up game over which she generally has a fair amount of control. From this perspective, what's not to like? You get glitter, color, and glamour. True, the fashion sensibility is all rather trashy, but this too is part of the fun. Tongue-in-cheek camp, as opposed to any pretension of couture. Chrissy, one of the dancers interviewed, tells me that people don't realize how much money it takes to be a dancer. They're like, God, you make so much money, but they don't know how much it takes to be a dancer. Citing just one of the expenses, she complains that dancer clothes are the most expensive and least durable on the market. There's not another article of clothing that will cost you more and last you less time than dancer clothes. Tight mesh, sequin bikinis, fully exposed G-strings, nipple pasties under sheer garments, and sky-high stiletto heels are just a few of the items that I can imagine in the overlap between baddie attire for a random Saturday night at Bella Noche and things an exotic dancer would wear to perform.
Hazel London was inside the club when she heard shots.
It's upsetting me and my homegirl because we feel like, well, damn, if you can't go to Bella Noche, what the hell could you go?
Everything I've mentioned about biopolitics here, and honestly respectability politics too while we're at it. Respectability politics are, the preparation of oneself to be accepted by and able to navigate certain institutions and people, reminds me that wearing underwear as outerwear fashionably can be traced back to 16th, late 17th century England, the Tudor period, when people of status often flaunted embroidered undergarments exposed alongside or peeking out of their regular clothes. And is that much different from wearing shapewear as outerwear, the whale tailing even, putting corset boning inside of a t-shirt? It's not all that different, I don't know. Moreover, at the center of many of today's topics lies one brand wherein exotic dancing clubwear, BBL fashion, baddies, and high fashion ready-to-wear collide. Poster Girl. If it sounds or looks familiar at all, you might have seen one of their stretch knit jumpsuits or latex pieces on an influencer or celebrity in the recent past, as it's garnered so much popularity. Creative directors Francesca Capper and Natasha Somerville met at Central St. Martin's in London while studying women's wear design and went on to form Poster Girl as a brand in 2017. Just a couple years thereafter, as I mentioned, plastic surgery trends began to scurry upward around the same time that their shapewear also began to really take off. I don't think it's causational, but I do think that there's some kind of a coincidence happening here, possibly also just, the creative directors might have been tapped in. In an an interview they did with British Vogue back in 2021, they opened up about how their days interning in Paris and visiting lingerie boutiques there has really directly inspired a lot of their work. While all of that is good and true, there's no mistaking that the pieces themselves are reminiscent of baddie shapewear seen in exotic dancing clubs. More recently, back in June of this year, Poster Girl released a campaign where they outfitted influencers and models as the stars of a dating reality TV show. This included former Bad Girls Club and Baddies guest cast members, the Claremont twins, as well as models Salem Mitchell and Alton Mason, and influencer Aaliyah Interlude, as well as various others. I think that's definitely their way of nodding to the pieces being worn and popularized by internet influencers, models, and reality TV stars alike. Like a little army of women in stretched mesh paid to perform as bad. You know, honestly, I like the little bodysuits. I can't lie. I'm not here to hate on that. But back onto the topic of designing for women whose lives thrive on fantasy, some of whom have fake jobs. Neither here nor there. You know, salute to all the strong women out there doing their best to stay alive, and obviously never judgment to the SWs, never judgment to the SWs. But that aside, being a reality TV star is a fake job. Being an influencer, fake job. Being a fashion stylist is a fake job. Imagine telling someone during like the Great Depression that for a living in 2024, you film yourself in your car with the stench and grease of enough like Popeyes to feed 3 families who haven't eaten in days, and you get paid like $10,000 a video to do that in a beat face and coffin nails. Can somebody please check on Piggy Doll?
Hey yo, I'm about to eat 4 pussy all by myself. Let's get it, baby. Ugh.
My sister. I'm actually, you know what? Never mind. Actually, I don't know. Maybe do check on her. I don't know. No offense. I'm sorry, Piggy Doll. I wouldn't go so far as to say that to be a baddie, you need to be a fake business owner or a model or literally just a girl with butt injections, you know, making bank, uploading videos of yourself taking walks. No judgment to any of those things. You know what I'm saying? Get how you live.
I'm an upcoming rapper and I'm a plumber. I taught myself how to plumb.
But allegedly, imagine there also exists maybe possibly fake music careers to launder money and act as an advertisement for your 8 other businesses and your illegal side hustles. There does exist a space in time in the universe where that does happen, and that universe could be this one. Who knows? I'm speculating. And for some of the girls, hypercapitalist aspirations are at the helm of all they seek. You know, you own a lash business, and you own a line of waist trainers, and you own a gym with your husband, you have a baby hair care line and a body sculpting clinic, and you just put out 2 songs and you are a Fashion Nova ambassador, and you have an fans and possibly other streams of income. I don't know. I don't take issue with labor. I'm just saying it's a lot of jobs. That's all I'm saying. No offense to Natalie Nunn and or Sarah Oliver for staying busy. Those are the 2 people that I was kind of referencing when I said all of that stuff. Anyways, how did we get here? How did it become, you know, all about money? Being a baddie has pretty much always been about being a boss of sorts who gets easy and fast money. But upward mobility achieved through marketing oneself as a brand for others to identify with, getting a bag for merely existing, and having the natural gift of charisma has been stretched. There's more to it.
When I found that, that's what we doing. Putting $500,000 in a suitcase and pushing that shit. Now it's like you scared? You wasn't scared when we were getting active before.
In a pinch, before social media, the baddies were the video vixens, the men's magazine models, and women in rap. Think Lil Kim, Trina, Remy Ma, Foxy Brown, Corinne Steffens, Melissa Ford, Buffy the Body, Erica Mena. As social media began to pick up and we see the creation of apps like Instagram and Tumblr, there was a new influx of widely known bad bitches and a new business model to work with here. This is when we see names like Rhea Miles, Black China, Amber Rose. And I think that in particular is where baddie style like really cemented itself for the internet era. This is also where you see rappers beginning to kind of like fight for the top spot, as we are infamously in a world that is just pre and post Nicki Minaj.
Hold on, baby. Nobody's gonna respect you in this house. You think so? You eat what you kill. I don't think I have to show you guys how I'm fucking them. Is anybody gonna run out? Oh, okay.
Alongside that, reality TV was the other main avenue of media where these aesthetics were manifesting. And one specific show that heavily played a part in the adoption of these aesthetics among the mainstream would be Bad Girls Club. Bad Girls Club was a reality TV show produced by the creators of The Real World. It debuted on Oxygen Network in 2006, showcasing the interactions between a ragtag household of self-proclaimed bad girls. They love to cuss, they love to party, they dress up, and the main focus of the show, they love to fight. Written for the bad girls to recite for the show, the Bad Girls Club creed goes as such. A bad girl knows what she wants and how to get it. She makes her own way, makes her own rules, and she makes no apologies. A bad girl blazes her own trail and removes obstacles from her path. A bad girl fights and forces her way to the top with style and beauty. A bad girl believes in jumping first and looking later. People will love you, people will hate you, others will secretly wish to be you. Surprisingly, Bad Girls Club ran for a shocking 17 seasons and introduced the general public to the likes of the Claremont twins, Tanisha Thomas, Millionaires were on for one season, but I think they were already pretty well known from posting their music on MySpace at that time. And of course, they introduced us to Miss Natalie Nunn. Being a brand ambassador, hosting and getting paid for club appearances boosted via party flyers on Instagram. Social media influencing in that you are marketing yourself, your style, your body as a brand to acquire brand deals, sponsorships, affiliate links. Simply posting a selfie with a little booty showing and it goes viral. Many of these that we have come to see as fake social media jobs are a result of the internet's fascinations with the short list of women that I just went through and plenty more. The grind mindset for social capital is fueled by the display and perception of wealth where there may be none, banking on the reproduction of one's image by others and the desire to truly say you're a trendsetter and a known icon in every sense of the word. Like to be able to say, one time I wore vintage Chanel purse strap sunglasses, and then thousands of fast fashion stores and boutiques all over the world began selling $10 knockoffs with plastic Cuban links glued to the front is something that only Amber Rose can do. This and everything else I've mentioned so far about baddie subculture feels very reminiscent of the phrase fake it till you make it. To be able to say that you are a trendsetter with proof is a hallmark of being a baddie, and along with that comes hypercapitalism. You have to want to dominate and own and take what's yours in order to kind of even fit in this world. But that is to say, when you come from humble beginnings like Miss Amber Rose, like Miss Nicki Minaj, like Miss Corinne Steffens, there's a hunger or instilled ability to dream big that is required of those trying to climb out of the 10-foot hole in the ground that is poverty, unemployment, and lack of access. At a certain point, put everything aside that you feel morally about implants or injections or twerk videos or exotic dancing as a field of work or wearing corsets on top of t-shirts. Much of this is simply about survival, except for the corsets on top of t-shirts. You can want to dress up and hyper-feminize your whole existence and use those things to get by as it stands to be your chance to survive under capitalism, and nobody deserves vitriol for that. Even if you want to do all those things for fun and it's not even just to survive, girl, you can just do it. But we also have to and critical and mindful of our place, how we're participating in systems built upon our obligation or the perpetuation of an overarching good or bad. What role do we play in that by our own moral standards? To segue this and depict the stylings and politics of being a baddie in 2024, I thought it important to talk briefly about Baddies, the Zeus Network TV show, and its premise from auditions to reunion. If you know anything about Natalie Nunn, you know that she was on multiple seasons of Bad Girls Club and then went on to become the executive producer and creator of this TV show, Baddies. She took the premise of Bad Girls Club and revamped it, saying that instead of largely staying in this house, kind of cooped up, throwing each other's belongings in the pool, it's a club appearance tour where some of them perform their music. Between 8 and 25 women are living in a house together in different cities across coasts and more recently throughout the Caribbean. There's drama, there's chaos, there's fighting.
And we fight your mamas, and we fight your mamas, and we fight your mamas.
As they try to do literally anything, whether that's go to dinner, have a house meeting, go to the club that's supposed to be paying them for the night.
You keep your dogs on a leash and I keep my girls good, period. I'm not a dog. You're the one that look like you have some Squidward.
Or literally just like walking outside in a street market. They'll start fighting, they'll start running their ones. The show, in everything from aesthetics to mannerisms, is about women with Barbie aspirations who are tough and can fight, will defend themselves as the richest in the room, the one who gets the biggest bag and various streams of income, as the realist, as the only one who stands on business. You get the gist. Of course, the girls take note from each other, but when it comes to the show, it just seems like putting all of these women in one house surrounded by cameras and lights over their heads, unlimited alcohol, little to no food, a bodyguard assigned to every single woman in the present. A lot of it just seems like a battle of egos to see who's the toughest, or rather the baddest, in a wig snatching contest in front of what could be hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. So there is something to say as well about the performance of womanhood sitting alongside the performance of toughness, the performance of independence sitting alongside the performance of, I don't know, like I can get my own bag, like hypercapitalism. While I don't agree with everything I read in the 1970 Hannah Arendt novel on violence, as I was doing research and trying to find more perspectives on rage written by women as it relates to the socio-political, I did find intrigue in the way she depicted the innate humanity that exists in sneaking someone. To act with deliberate speed goes against the grain of rage and violence, but this does not make them irrational. On the contrary, in private as well as public life, there are situations in which the very swiftness of a violent act may be the only appropriate remedy. The point is not that this permits us to let us steam, which indeed can be equally well done by pounding the table or slamming the door. The point is that under certain circumstances, violence, acting without argument or speech and without counting the consequences, is the only way to set the scales of justice right again. Man, do with that what you will. Do you think Hannah Arendt ever got into a fist fight? Put in the comments. While watching together recently, my sister was the one who told me she thought Baddies was reminiscent of WWE, and centered around this idea, I wanted to lead into baddie aesthetics of the present.
You got Botox and you're with injections on FaceTime. You got your lipo in 2014.
Natalie Nunn has done an incredible job of marketing herself as the owner of Baddies, as making people think this term that had literally nothing to do with her belongs to her. Like, the name existed before the show, but you now will probably never be able to separate them culturally, at least. Moving forward, 10 years down the line, we'll probably never not think about the idea of like baddies without thinking about the TV show that she created and the aesthetics that occur within that TV show. As a TV show in 2024, everything that came before the show that I've mentioned, 2020's IG models, video vixens, etc., like all of that has directly impressed upon what baddies are now, but this is like a marker in time, in the same way that 2010's IG models had Instagram as their marker of like what the style was, what the pictures were supposed to look like, what the poses were, etc., etc. That's fascinating to think about. That's like a little bit of a note that's not in my script. I just like thought about that for a second. That's crazy. Covetable items and status signifiers within the show, and therefore the broader culture, as many of the women seem to be wearing them, are as such jumpsuits, as we've discussed. Layered Van Cleef and Arpels necklaces and bracelets, laid wigs in bright colors and unique styling techniques, sometimes including charms and little accents, big false lashes with accents like glitter and sequins, a beat face with a 2016 cut crease, custom made anything. If the nails are long, they're very long and colorful, possibly even match the hair. Oftentimes, you'll see Natalie wearing literally just like sweats and a t-shirt and some loungewear. It seems like she has her glam team making sure her hair is done no matter what.
We taking her to the war. She has to go. She has to be committed today. She's already dressed for it. How you come to as an EP with scrubs on? What the fuck cloth I want? This is how you represent. This is a black network.
The chains are big. Everybody usually has their own, but the Baddies chain is earned as a part of the TV show. I'll be getting into that momentarily. Clothing brands that I see a lot of are IMGA, Pretty Little Thing, Fashion Nova, and like brands that are owned by the women on the show. Primarily online fast fashion brands where the price point is set a bit higher and its marketing is heavily dependent on influencing. Usually that's paired with some kind of heritage designer handbag, Gucci, Louis, Burberry, etc. And generally, being an ambassador posting clothes for companies like Fashion Nova is also seen as being a status signifier within that subculture. In Baddies Caribbean, Natalie introduces the Baddies chain, presented not unlike a wrestling belt. It became a point of contention over why and how someone received it. It was unanimously agreed upon that you only get a baddie chain after showing your baddie, doing your big one, bonding with the other women in the house who've been there long enough that they automatically receive a chain for being a longtime member of the club who's already ran their ones and doesn't need to fight anybody, which leads to the last part. Another reason that you might be getting a baddie's chain is because you're good at fighting. While we're at it, poser girl jumpsuits are like the Baddies wrestling uniform. There are even comparisons to draw between the flexibility of the garments, the way that they take shape over the bodies, the expressed purpose of the garment being both to reveal and hide certain parts of the body, and the fact that these garments are very much underwear as outerwear, just like wrestling jumpsuits are kind of giving like, you know, superhero underwear outerwear. In that same vein, You know, we talked a lot about biopolitical today, talked a lot about bodies today. Between WWE and Baddies, everyone is constantly working on their bodies. In professional wrestling, the appearance of muscle and strength is of utmost importance, regardless of if the fighting is staged. In Baddies, the appearance of being a bad bitch by showing off your best looks, wearing the clothes that fit the social role expected of you, even if you know you're about to get into a fight, getting cosmetic work done to enhance certain features that match the measurements of the necessary clothes, etc. is, you know, all of those things for a baddie are of utmost importance. Also, allegedly, people have been paid to fight / like start up drama on the show. I don't know, allegedly. I wasn't there, so I don't know how true this is. Zeus, don't fight me. But it's particularly noticeable that among newer baddies, having to earn their stay by following unspoken rules of engagement pertaining to the social understanding that these women have of themselves individually as the baddest, like, clearly there's a point there. It's exploitative, but whatever. Not whatever, I'm sorry. But, you know, Natalie Nunn knows what she's doing, so. I might go so far as to say all of this, baddies as a subculture, baddies as a show, all of it is performance art passed off as real life, which is in a way what WWE kind of ended up being.
Let me say something real quick, too, really loud and clear. In this house, don't matter what none of y'all say about me and my he ain't going nowhere. So whenever one of y'all got a problem, if it's the next city or this city or that city, you can say whatever you want. I'm still finna run up on you, and my ain't going nowhere. Cause that's what real boss. Like, this is rich. She not getting more than 2. I told you, boo boo bop bop, boo boo bop bop. In the words of the da 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 da.
There are these cemented bonds, allyships that happen off camera and create parasocial connections, teams to be on for those viewing at home. You know, newbies versus OGs is like a constant conversation in baddies. The hair, the nails, the glam that are all included in the baddie subculture of 2024. These are all reminiscent of the eccentric, over-the-top aesthetics of pro wrestlers, as well as the way that everyone has their own particular style within the genre as a whole. Their personalities are visible in the ways they're presenting themselves, but seem to be rooted in adherence with the rest of the culture, with the rest of the wrestlers on the team or the touchdown in the stadium. I don't understand wrestling, I'm sorry. Anyways, I thought about doing finger waves like Jayla today, but I decided against it because, I don't know, Jayla, if you see this, please tell me how on earth you're bleaching your hair and texturizing it regularly and managing to put it in finger waves on like a daily basis on tour. That's genuinely a lot of hard work. But you know what? Being a bad bitch is hard work. And that's what this video is about. Anyways, that's like most of what I have to say for today. There are some other things that I wanted to talk about, but we'll probably leave it out. This video is late anyways. I think that's all I have for you today. If you like this one, please like, share, comment, subscribe, etc. Thank you so much for being here. I'll catch you in the next one, which hopefully will be very soon because the script's done. Peace, weezoo. Bye.